Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our 7-day RainWatch update, brought to you by resupply.co.nz. There's a lot of high pressure on the way over the next week, but we still have showers, some cold fronts, and we're tracking a wee bit of low pressure, but it's mostly offshore. We're going to break it down for you over the next several days. Let's kick off with the Friday morning satellite imagery showing a big front moving in towards New Zealand, but it's going to fall apart because it's running into high pressure, which is in the Tasman and around the country at the moment. So the bright yellow shows some high cloud tops. It's actually a bit of a convergence zone between the high pressure zone coming into New Zealand and the other high pressure zone south of Australia. Winds are meeting up. There's a big line of cloud in there. But as it runs into that high pressure zone around New Zealand, it will crumble, still bringing some wet weather around the South Island in particular, a little bit for the North Island, not a huge amount. So we're going to show you that in a moment. Otherwise, mostly clear skies, a bit of cloud around here and there. Morning cloud and fog at this time of the year is quite likely as you get those longer and longer nights. Here is the bigger picture to make sense of what I was just saying. The high pressure belt around the Tasman Sea, the next one south of Australia, and you've got winds meeting up here in the southern part of the Tasman, small bit of low pressure off the coast of Fiordland. So that is the area with some wet weather, but the high pressure zone over the country is the most dominant part. The low off the coast of the North Island doesn't have much of a long life ahead of it. It's got high pressure all around it and certainly won't be causing too many problems for New Zealand, but still some wet weather carries on, especially today on that northeastern corner of the South Island. We've also got some big storms south of New Zealand. Now the normal autumn windy westerlies are still well south of us for now. For that to change, we need the high pressure zones to either move northwards or break apart. For now, that isn't quite happening, so we don't have that windy weather. Now speaking of windy weather, here's some autumn outdoor tips for this week. Perfect time of the year to be spraying for those weeds, and you don't want it to be windy or wet. So dry conditions are needed with no rain for a couple of days after you've sprayed. We've got plenty of that dry weather on the way. Obviously important so it doesn't get washed away, allows the weeds to actually absorb it. And you don't want windy weather to get that old drift of the spray, which is damaging to plants around it, and not to mention higher risk to pets and humans when it's windy. So you don't want wind, you don't want rain, and we've got that coming up. Also, you don't really want it to be too hot, evaporates it all. We've got a bit of warm weather on the way. I've got a map to show you in a second. And at the end of this, we're going to show you the 7-day rain map plus a 7-day wind animation to give you a better idea as to when that gusty weather is and where it might be. A big thank you to resupply.co.nz. They are supporting us at the moment, helping us make some extra content, so please do support them. Let's get into the forecast. Here are the temperatures. We talked about you don't want conditions too hot. The heat is creeping up this weekend, especially around the North Island going into Sunday, as a little bit of a westerly breeze kicks in. But notice the temperature changing a little bit in the south on Sunday. That's that cold front falling apart, drives in a few showers and a bit of cloud, and the temperatures drop, basically Canterbury southwards. Most other regions pretty much the same going through the weekend. Here is the 1 o'clock Saturday air pressure map. You can see the big high in charge of the country, especially around the North Island, and a bit of a northwest flow on the southern end of that coming into the South Island. That's why your Saturday is a little milder around the South Island, but that front, not very much. You know, it looks a little dramatic in the satellite map, in the rain map here. A wee bit of rain for Fiordland, a little bit into Southwestland. Stewart Island might see a couple of showers, and we can't rule out a shower in Southland, although we're not really expecting them, and mostly dry elsewhere. Maybe an isolated shower around the far north. Light winds in many regions and a northwest flow through Cook Strait. On Sunday, those nor'westers around central New Zealand pick up a little more as the high pressure zone shifts northwards, and the next high from south of Australia already ballooning out and joining forces with it. So the cold front moves up, but it's kind of stuck. So you'll see that rain moving into, as I say, Fiordland when we're in Saturday. By Saturday night, moves up into Westland, and then it heads further up the west coast as we go through Sunday. There'll be some spillover into Otago and Southland, and maybe into some parts of Canterbury. It doesn't look at this stage like a great deal, and the North Island, hotter, drier, with those west to northwest winds blowing. By Monday, the leftovers of that front, that's it there. Just a few showers hanging around. Bit of cloud, might be a bit cloudy for you on Monday as well. And a bit more of a southerly breeze coming into the North Island. So temperatures on Monday will drop a little bit into the north following that change. But look, light winds in many places and mostly dry. Just a few showers now coming up the eastern side of the North Island. By Tuesday, few remaining showers left over. They could become a little heavy into the afternoon. That's always good if you need some rain, get those hit and miss downpours. But again, dry weather around the country, and with all the high pressure and the nights getting longer and longer, that does increase the chances of getting those fog patches and morning cloud as we deal with those warm afternoons and cooler nights. And so that's something we're going to see more of over the months ahead. Now here we go to the middle of next week. Not a great deal of change, still a couple of isolated showers, perhaps a bit of a westerly flow kicking into the South Island, with a few showers coming into the very south. Otherwise, not a lot going on. A couple of isolated showers in the northeast of the North Island. And as we go through next week, here is the next southerly change coming through on Thursday. Starts a bit on Wednesday, but Thursday, southerly winds across the country. Isolated showers. You can see no real rain relief in here, although Canterbury is certainly getting plenty of wet weather at the moment. More follow-up showers coming for you as we go into next week. And it'll feel more autumnal on Thursday of next week, as will Friday. Because again, still more of a southerly or southwesterly flow for many parts of the country. Showers are around, not very many of them, and certainly not a lot of them on the western side of the North Island, which is the driest part of the country. High pressure pretty big here, ballooning out, which means as we go into the next weekend, the last weekend of March, we may still be seeing high pressure, but there are a couple of other things to look at here. Tropical low up here around Queensland. Not a storm, not at this stage anyway, but as the high tracks through the New Zealand area and it's got room to move eastwards, that could allow that low to drop into the Tasman Sea. So perhaps our next best chance for a rainmaker, and I'm not locking it in, but just saying the next best chance of one tracking near us could be the very end of March and the start of April. There's also a tropical cyclone up here in Western Australia looking highly likely for next week, or moderately likely to highly likely for next week, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. And the windy westerlies of autumn, as I say, still well south of New Zealand. So let's have a look at the 7-day wind gusts brought to you by resupply.co.nz. So on this map, the blues, the greens, those are the light winds, stronger winds in the purples and reds. So look, a lot of the country is in blue and you're going to see that in green. It's a fairly quick animation, but you'll get the idea. Let's kick it off now. Not a lot of windy weather other than around Cook Strait, sort of usual areas. More high pressure coming through here, lots of blues. Cold front brushes the south here, so a brief southerly comes up the country. But a lot of inland areas were blue. Just hit rewind and watch it again if you want to see more detail of that one. But there is the next big high. So light winds in many regions as we go through the next day. The stormy stuff of autumn, that is south of the country. Here is the 7-day rainfall starting from today. You got that wet weather in the northeast. Few showers around, filling in the colours there, but really that's at the very bottom of the scale. That is not much in the way of rain. No substantial rain for the North Island other than the northeastern corner there, perhaps a couple of heavier showers in the south, pretty isolated. And around the South Island, most of that rain in Fiordland and Westland. Maybe a little bit coming into Southland, but not very much. So we don't really have very much in the way of rain on the way, at least for the next 7 days, but hopefully we can be a little more optimistic as we go into April. We normally do start to see a break in the weather pattern, but there may still be a few more dry weeks yet to come. That is all from me. Before I go, the weather face of the day, showing my immaturity. But I look at these maps all the time, and quite often you see these sort of like googly eyes appearing. This one to me looks like a really terrified face, 2 eyes, scary mouth, and the South Island smack bang on the nose. So that was yesterday's animated map. But anyway, that is all from me for this week. A big thank you again to resupply.co.nz. Have yourselves a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again on Monday.